Hi friends. Well, I thought I was going to be making this video this morning, right after I made the other one, but I've had a day of really interesting computer challenges. I don't know if it was my network, maybe installing something or what, but everything was not just slow as molasses in, 20-degree weather. It just wasn't going anywhere. So here it is. Is it past midnight yet? Yeah. And I didn't figure I'd be recording tonight either, but you never know. Pays to go with the flow. Heart is delighted. Sometimes the comments that you leave for me, you just don't realize how special. Someone who doesn't speak up too often just said, "Love you." Something like that is a treasure. It really is. It's just a rose from heart, and I accept it that way. It's beautiful, and I'm reminded too in communicating with some of you what it's like to be really understood, and just how precious that is. We get to feeling alone. We're the light beings. And I don't know what we are. I really don't, because we all have to forget. That's part of the price for the ticket to come in here. And we forgot a long time ago, because you don't come in here and walk just a mile in these human shoes. It takes many incarnations to really get it. Now, maybe it doesn't. I mean, in a way, that's really stupid. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. But it seems to me that in order to really understand what it's like to be in 3D, what it's like to be human, I don't see how that can be accomplished very well in just one or 100 lifetimes. So anyway, don't know where I'm going with that. I have an interesting journal for you. It doesn't go back too far, just December 19th of 2010, and it was the first of that day, and the Mayan day was 12 deer or hand, and it's got an interesting title. What is reality? Proposals and possibilities. I think I'll just read it to you, and then if Hart has anything to say at the end, I'll do that. Yesterday, I received an interesting link from an internet friend. It was to a blog where they propose that material life itself is a creation of the Illuminati, or the Dark Ones, as a methodology to get control of the power of all beings who were previously in a non-material and unified state, though still individuals. Now, that's a lot to take in, folks. I don't think many of us have ever contemplated even the possibility that material life itself could be a dark creation. So just to go along with what's being said here, I thought I'd give you a pause to get in heart and catch up with that. Now, you don't have to accept it. I'm not accepting it, okay? This is just something to look at, and when we're in heart, we can go anywhere and do anything. So here we go. This theory is stunning in its magnitude, in its chutzpah, the way it encompasses all that is, starting even before the beginning. It is magnificent that way. Kudos to the bright one or ones who came up with it. It further proposes that language itself is the means both of our creation and of our enslavement. Still with me? Stay in heart. Hidden in the very structure of language and words are endless subliminal controls and implants, according to this theory. The sheer breadth of it is stunning, and it does take your breath away for a bit. I had to sleep on it for about a month. I had no immediate response to it, either positive or negative. And heart is like that, not just sometimes, but often. So don't be surprised. Don't feel like just because you're in heart, and heart is supposed to be this wonderful place, that means you're going to have answers crop up to everything. From what I found, it doesn't work like that. Okay, back to the journal. Words are powerful. There's no doubt of that. They are used both in the creation story and also in Masaru Emoto's work at manipulating or altering physical matter, in that case water. Hidden deep within each of us lurks a memory of a time or many times when we spoke not with words at all, but with thoughts or with heart. So we know deep within that words are not necessary for communion, for sharing. They are extraneous to that purpose, or they can be. If we look at the initial creation of man, the perfect 12-stranded one, well, 12 strands of DNA, there was no need back then to eat any flesh. That came after the stripping of our DNA strands. It may be that when we lost access to the fullness of light which used to flow through us, the energy deficit had to be made up in some way. Thus came the eating of flesh to get that energy. Just a hypothesis here, nothing more. Anyway, the mouth is used both for eating and for speech. Perhaps in our perfect state, it needed to do neither. Makes you wonder a bit what a mouth is for. And I'll have to leave that one hanging because I don't know yet. Now, back to the majestic proposal of this blog site, link in the transcript on Scribed, where they propose that it is mind and thought all together that are the instruments both of our creation and our captivity. All creation is born of thought. This we all know. The thought comes before the material manifestation of that. The architect's plan comes before the building. That's how it works. Thought is creative. I'll go that far, certainly. I sense, though, that there is something quite off with this proposal, and I don't quite know what as yet. Here's one suspicion I have. As I've said many times in the journals, I don't choose to cross swords with beings on the mental plane. That one is lorded over by those with full DNA stranding, full use of their minds, their mental capacity. We are no match for them there. We're more like Cannon Father. Now that's interesting. Cannon fodder than a worthy opponent in anything. So that's one thing. Another is that it's a good idea to be wary of great mental creations that come clearly from higher or more complete minds. They could be rigged, and likely are. This itself is why I shy away, for instance, from whatever Ashayana Deen has to offer. It sounds very great, but I'm not interested in castles of the mind. No, thanks. Well, do I know that that's not the route to the spirit, to the light. I'm going home. No detours. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go again. I just recorded, and about midway through, the recording went wacko. So I'll take the first part and pick it up here in the middle. So I was just talking about Ashayana Deen and no detours, I'm going home. While this blog I've been speaking of is not so obviously an advanced mental castle or creation, it is simpler by far than Ashayana Deen's work. Still, I don't trust. I'm suspicious at best. I woke up this morning somehow knowing that this idea they propose is not completely the case. And I don't have specifics yet. They may come, they may not, I will observe. It is surely interesting. I will at least give it a read, and that's saying something, for it's more than 100 pages of text. And this is me. Very rare for me these days to be willing to dive that deeply into anything. Still, to get the word of soul or spirit, it often takes a bit of investigation while staying in heart. When you, well, and you know, I'll step out here and say, maybe not. Often the very best of the gifts that flow through are perfectly effortless. All right. When you come onto something, you either get the interior yay or the nay, and then you know. Absent investigation, your knowledge remains simple potential. It takes a bit of work, or it can. You know, it is strange the way the cursor jumps all over the page as I type. All I have to do is pause, and I don't know where it will wind up. Very strange. Does that happen to anyone else? It could be I'm in the word processor or on the internet, anywhere. There's no telling where the cursor will go. And I promise I'm not messing with the touchpad, not when I'm typing. I try not to get frustrated with it, but sometimes it's a little bit less than funny. Know what I mean? Actually, I am glad that at this point, at least my energy field doesn't turn things off and on the way some people's do. It's done that before. Changed the channel all over the place on the radio too. Those were odd times though, nothing regular at all. We have much to discover about just who and what are these bodies that we wear. In addition to that, we've got the energy fields that we bring to them. How are you doing at maintaining an awareness that you and that body are actually separate? How's that coming along? And if you're well with that, How about the mind then? Can you see how, though you have a mind, that you're not that at all? Can you separate from mind as from body? Do you have that awareness? Are you at least trying it on? It helps us quite a bit to step back from things, to simply take a new perspective on life. Many things can be so and yet seem to be mutually exclusive. Life isn't like we thought it was at all, not one bit. It's rather enjoyable, don't you think, to be discovering all of this? I do. We mustn't go forward, though, with the chip on those lovely shoulders of ours. Sorry, just lost my place. That won't do at all. If we have feelings of resentment and anger, let us look to the within for that, not to the outside, not pointing the finger. Outside is just the result or the reflection of the inside. And that's just how it works. Now, can you accept that? Or perhaps at least try the possibility on? Can be helpful, for sure. It's empowering. Remember, in trying on any of what you may consider my wild ideas, you can't be harmed. You can always come back to the way you thought things were after you give these thoughts a try. Thoughts are not dangerous like that. They can't change you unless you are willing to go along for the ride. Sovereign beings, remember that. That's what we all are. We get to rule our own lives, and it makes a difference knowing that. So, I'm an adventurer of sorts. Robert Monroe was that, only his adventures were out of the body. Very fascinating. I'll see if his books are available online and give you a link. I torrented them. I think once we get our nose up from the grind and the grindstone that everyday life has become for so many, we will all find we're the adventurous sort in one way or another. As we step into heart, let it lead us, we'll find ourselves going down paths and byways we would never have guessed would be in our future. If we're really adventurous, then pretty soon we won't even recognize the self as the one that it used to be. We'll be so changed. Most of us are certainly ready for a change. At least that's what we tell the self. But what do we do when the opportunity comes knocking? Do we hold back? Or do we go forward into that? If you hold back while yet wishing you wouldn't do that, then it's time to look inside for what's lying underneath that. What is the source of that fear? That is calling to be dealt with first, before you can take off on the other journey you fancy. Self-examination, self-inquiry, everything seems to call for that. Just taking a simple look all around you there in the room calls for a certain realization that all that you are seeing is, in some way, your own creation. It's the manifestation in very real ways of who and what you are within. It shows, too, the state of your development in so many ways. But until you recognize that this mirror effect is the case, is the way that it is, then you look at your surroundings blindly, never taking it in, all that they really have to tell you about yourself. Heart vision is required for so many things, and humility. If you want to have really transcendent sight, then first go to the heart. Look at life from there. You'll be constantly surprised. No, not every second, of course. Though, if we were fully awake, that would be possible, perhaps. A day won't go by, though, in which you won't find at least several things coming to you. New ways to look at or understand things. New perspectives on something you thought was old or understood very well. You'll just be shown things. You really do have a complete inner guidance system that links up with what seems to be outside of you, that understands what is happening there in ways new to your conscious self. One thing I really like about this blog I opened the journal talking about, and that's that peaceful non-compliance fits right in with what they promote, which is not to react in any way to whatever occurs, but to respond instead. To react is to be pulled right into the matrix, to both feed it and become a part of that. This is so. I find that stepping back from considering self to be both body and mind is empowering in this way of responding rather than reacting, the knee-jerk thing. When we do that, they've got us. That's how I see it working. I guess they do too. Just pull your energies out. Get some distance. Change perspective. Simply step back. When you wonder, well, what's next then? What is to replace this? I say, look inside. That's where your business resides, within the self. Observing self is a lucrative way to come into seasons and cycles of growth. Now, don't think of lucrative in terms of money, the money system the world uses today. And that's perverted right to the core. That's a Luciferian thing. We are wealthy in ways that really count, my friends. Counting up dollars and pounds, lira and yen, it's not good for the soul. It's just distraction from within, where our real business abides. It's there, waiting for our attention to come back to center again. Blessings and light to you. Good day. Okay, at the end, I included a link to a video that's a part of that blog, and it's good. You don't have to read 100 and some pages. You can just watch the video that's not too long, and it will introduce you to these very broad brushstroke ideas of the blog that I was discussing in this journal. See you again soon.